Yesterday on the show, we told you about the stealth warplanes of the Chinese, and tonight we are getting you the story of Iran's stealth warships. 2 of them will soon be deployed to the Persian Gulf. And what do we know about these warships? They reportedly look like this, like catamarans, except they are dangerous. The warships are 65 meters long. They can travel at 45 knots, which is 52 miles per hour or 83 kilometers per hour. They can strike targets that are over 700 kilometers away. And what kind of arms are these stealth warships carrying? Missiles, air defense systems. These warships are fitted with Iran's new Nawab vertical launch systems. Also 4 20mm triple-barreled Gatling guns. There's also a 30mm autocannon and 16 Sayad series surface-to-area missiles. And that's not all. These stealth warships also carry 6 Abu Mahdi naval cruise missiles. It's not only deadly weapons these warships carry, but also a combat helicopter and 3 attack boats. Now, these warships were designed by Iran and produced in Iran. Iran is calling them world-class. They have been named after the slain Iranian military officers, Shahid Sayad Shirazi and martyr Hassan Bagheri. These stealth warships are the 2nd and the 3rd models of Soleimani-class vessels. The new warships were handed over to the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, on Monday. Where will they be operating is the next question. These warships are headed towards the Arabian Sea, not too far from the dangerous waters where the Houthis, an America-led Navy coalition, have been facing off. While Iran is building a dangerous naval fleet, a country that once ruled the waves is now sinking in high tide. What am I talking about? Who can answer this question for me? What is it with the United Kingdom? Nothing seems to be working in its favor. Let me tell you what happened at the end of January. The British Navy was test firing a nuclear missile from a submarine. The test was being carried out off the coast of Florida. The nuclear missile was supposed to fly thousands of kilometers and then land in the Atlantic, somewhere between Brazil and West Africa. But things did not go as planned. On the D-Day, a dummy Trident II was propelled into the air, but the first stage booster did not ignite. The result? The missile left the submarine, went up into the air, and plop, it dropped right next to the submarine. In short, it was a flop show. You see, the British Ministry of Defence is more coutred. It's called the embarrassment and anomaly. It's actually much more than that. It's a disaster. One that should really worry the people living in the UK. They should be asking whether their armed forces, the Navy in particular, is even capable of saving them from an enemy attack. That nuclear test missile that was supposed to hit an enemy target sank during the test fire. It had to be fished out of the sea. And let me also tell you here that this is not a one-off misfire. This is the 2nd consequent misfire of the same missile. That's right. Trident's last test was in the year 2016. The missile veered off course. Back in 2016 as well, the test missile was supposed to hit a sea target off the coast of Africa, and guess the direction in which the missile went instead? Towards the United States. Had there been a real warhead, the missile would have hit its maker. Time for some background here. The Trident II or Trident D5 nuclear missiles are built by the Americans. These missiles are the mainstay of Britain's strategic nuclear deterrent. A Trident missile has a range of 12,000 kilometers and carry a payload as large as 2,800 kgs. These missiles are over 13 meters long. They weigh over 58,000 kgs and they are ejected from a submarine. How? By using high-pressured gas. The UK's HMS Vanguard-class nuclear submarines carry these missiles. There are 4 Vanguard-class subs. As per the Royal Navy, in fact, these subs are armed with quote-unquote cutting-edge steam technology. They ensure our ultimate defense. The submarine from which the Trident missile was being fired had just had a 7+ year refit. And it goes without saying it was a failure, much like a lot else in the UK. The economy, the roads, pothole-filled roads, should I say, the Royal Mail. But that's a story for another day. Let's just get back to the state of the British Navy. From once ruling the waves, today it has become a cartoon navy, the laughing stock of the world. Everyone is talking about the Trident flop. Do you think British allies are not concerned? Of course they are. Do you think Britain's enemies are not laughing? Of course they are. The Royal Navy has nowhere to hide. It cannot test fire. How can it take on enemies then? It's unfit for war zones. Imagine a nuclear missile landing just inches away from the submarine, one that it was fired from. How does that even happen? And thank God it is a dummy warhead. The British officials tried very hard, in fact, to hide what actually happened on the 30th of January. Britain's Defence Secretary, Grant Shapps, was on board the vessel at the time of the incident. He did not say a word about that disaster. This is Admiral Sir Ben Key. He is Britain's first Sea Lord. He too was present when the Trident was misfired. This man as well kept mum. But the British press broke the story. And questions are now being raised naturally about Britain's nuclear deterrence. Is the UK even in the position to defend itself? The Labour Party has asked for assurances. This is John Healey. He is the British Shadow Defence Secretary, and here's what he has said. I'm quoting, "Reports of a Trident test failure are concerning. The Defence Secretary will want to reassure the Parliament that this test has no impact on the effectiveness of the UK's deterrent operation." And what has the Defence Secretary said? This is Shapps' statement. Let me quote. In fact, read some of the lines out loud. "The test reaffirmed the effectiveness of the UK's nuclear deterrent, in which the government has absolute confidence. The submarine and crew were successfully certified and will rejoin the operational cycle as planned." On this occasion, an anomaly did occur, but it was event-specific, and there are no implications for the reliability of the wider Trident missile systems and stockpiles, nor are there any implications for our ability to fire our nuclear weapons, should the circumstances arise in which we need to do so. That's a joke, isn't it? What else do you call a situation where the government of a country has to reassure the people that, look, our nuclear weapons can fire, that they will fire when needed? It's like the Chinese selling defective electronics. Which reminds me, given what's happened, I think Australia as well should ask for assurances, because why not? The UK is promising to build for Australia what the UK's Ministry of Defence calls the largest, most advanced and most powerful attack submarines ever operated by the Royal Navy. The UK is also promising to quote-unquote combine world-leading sensors, design and weaponry in one vessel. This was part of a statement released in 2023. And today, it can barely fire nuclear warheads from its own submarines. How then does it plan to provide nuclear submarines or functional nuclear submarines to Australia? UK's Vanguard class submarines are the largest submarines manufactured in the UK. They can hold up to 16 intercontinental ballistic missiles and can carry up to 8 Trident rockets, 40 nuclear warheads. But just tell me one thing. What can the Royal Navies do with the math if the nuclear missile fails to fire when needed? Doesn't add up, does it? The last time the British Navy managed to carry out a successful test of the Trident missile was in the year 2012. It's been 12 years. Guess how many prime ministers have entered or left 10 Downing Street since? 5. Like I was telling you, AUKUS partners should really be concerned. Australia is planning to double its naval strength. It is preparing to take on the Chinese. How is the UK contributing? What will the British do in case the AUKUS navies have to fight the Chinese? The British Royal Navy will likely have to sit out, which explains why Britain's effort to join the Quad is also not being taken seriously. How will it play any role in the Indo-Pacific? Britain does not have a navy that can be relied upon. And our next story is about asbestos. In Sydney, it has forced thousands of students to stay at home. Exposure to asbestos can cause chronic health problems, including lung disease among children. What's going on in Sydney? Where all is asbestos used? Should you be worried? Our next report getting you the complete story.
Asbestos, a cheap, heat-resistant mineral that was once commonly used widely around the world, today it is banned in 70 countries. This construction material has been deemed a silent killer. In fact, research has found that the inhalation of asbestos fibers could cause lung inflammation and cancer. In Australia, authorities have traced the toxic material in the mulch in as many as 41 spots across Sydney in New South Wales. It has also been detected in many schools. Officials are trying to remove it from public spaces ever since it was first detected in several playgrounds. The state's government and environmental watchdog have set up a task force. Thousands of students in New South Wales have been forced into remote learning from home for a week, as investigators continue to trace and test mulch that may be contaminated with asbestos. Naturally, the asbestos scare has left parents in Sydney worried, as exposure to bonded asbestos can harm children. Children's lungs are smaller and have a higher surface area to volume ratio than the lungs of adults. They can inhale more asbestos fibers with every breath, which can cause lung cancer or peritoneal mesothelioma. In 2011, India banned asbestos mining and asbestos waste used in chips. However, it continues to trade in raw asbestos and asbestos-based products, which is commonly found in the roofs of houses, especially in poorer regions of the country where chrysotyl or white asbestos is used. According to a November 2021 report by the Indian government, 361,164 tons of asbestos was imported between 2019 and 2020. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
And next, we have a story about Tinder. Yes, the dating app Tinder. And you may not want to swipe right. Why is that? Because the platform has made it all the more difficult to make a profile. British users will now need to verify their identities not simply by uploading selfies, but by showing an authorized ID proof. I'm talking about your passport and your driving license. What would Tinder ask for next? Your social security number? Pardon my joke, but it is funny imagining that one needs a passport to date, to fall in love. But that is what it has actually come down to. What can Tinder do? It's only trying to address its users' troubles by introducing these rules. The dating app has been repeatedly targeted by fraudsters, after all. They are known as catfish. For those who don't know, catfish are scammers. They create a fake online persona to lure unsuspecting people into a relationship and then con them for their money. That is, if they are slightly lucky. Some people have paid with their lives. Just Google Tinder murders and you will get a flurry of reports. Unfortunately, dating platforms like Tinder have become a pond for these catfish. It has been very easy for people to pretend to be someone they are not online. A fake profile picture, a witty bio, some quirky pickup lines, that's all it takes to get a match and slide into someone's inbox. And the next thing we know, there is a romance fraud. That is, a person is cheated for money. And thanks to the stigma around this, many shy away from even reporting the crime. So here's Tinder's solution. Whip out your passport or bring in your driver's license. Upload a recent photo and get bestowed with a verification badge. It's all optional, by the way. You can choose to not verify your identity. But if you don't get any matches, Tinder is not to blame. The verification system has been in place in Australia and New Zealand, in fact, since last year. And data shows that those who chose to be verified were far more likely to get a match. 67% to be precise. You see, it's a dilemma. Users are faced with a choice between their privacy and their safety. What to do? Give away your personal details and enjoy meeting verified users like yourself, or protect your data from Tinder but run the risk of being catfished? You certainly cannot enjoy both. And what about the troubles of small talk, situationships, ghosting? Well, let's save that for some other time. You have bigger fish to fry.